everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of the Important Shit podcast. This is our very first episode, but definitely not our first video that we've been making. So if you're familiar with my YouTube channel, I have been talking about personal finance and Tesla on there already. So we're just going to transition and also do a podcast, so you can find us on Spotify, and you can also watch us as well on YouTube still. So we'll still be posting these videos there. As most of you know, Tom is usually my camera guy, and he is also my husband, and so I will be adding him now to our videos. So
hi guys.
I'm excited to not be alone in these videos and not feel like I'm like talking to myself. So it'll be nice to have him here and just like add a new perspective. But anyways, I am Carter Jones, and I will be co-hosting it with Tom. And I guess we'll just like give a brief intro as to who we are, like what we do, and like why we're talking about this. So the first thing too, I would say the Important Shit podcast was created because Tom and I like to talk about these topics together all the time. Like we want to talk about finance, and we want to talk about just like business and entrepreneurship, and we haven't really had an outlet to do that with a lot of our like close friends, and so we really enjoy talking about it, but we haven't really met too many other people who love talking about it with us. So we wanted to start this podcast so that we could talk about these topics, these what we call important topics, on our podcast, and then also have you guys to help us like create a conversation around it. Because we're definitely not experts, and we just find these topics really fascinating, and we like to talk about them. So we'll be pulling topics from Reddit, we'll be pulling them from my email. So if you want to ask a question that we can answer on the show, feel free to email askcarterquestions@gmail.com, and we will then answer it during the show. So today we'll mix it up a little bit with some questions from all over the place.
So my name's Tom. I work for a healthcare company in sales. Basically, I'm an outside salesman, just drive around all day. I have an undergraduate degree in public relations and a minor in business administration, and then I have my master's degree in entrepreneurship, actually.
Yeah. And then I am the director of merchandising and design for a textile company, and my background is in 3D virtual prototyping, specifically in soft goods such as knitting and weaving, which is a very niche industry, and I guess that technology has helped me grow to the position I am today because I am in such a niche industry. But my background is in fashion and textile design, and then I also have a master's in entrepreneurship. So Tom and I got our masters together actually, which was fun, and I don't think he ever thought he was going to get his master's.
Definitely
but
not.
I might have pushed that one just a little bit, but anyways,
it was worth it.
Yeah. So we both are in very different industries. I'd say Tom and I are complete opposites in a lot of ways. Like I am definitely like a different,
go-getter.
Yeah, the go-getter personality, the one that's like never satisfied, always like trying to hit goals. And then Tom's a little bit more realistic,
definitely,
in his views, and he finds like happiness in other things other than just his job. Is that right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, in family and relationships and
right, more so than the career side of things, I guess.
Yeah, so I think you'll find like our perspectives to not match up usually. I think we somewhat agree, but there's also a lot of differences in where we're in our perspectives too.
Definitely. Okay, so the first question we want to cover is one that was emailed to us, and we've seen it on a lot of comments on YouTube. But it's, do you regret buying a Tesla? It's a big question.
No. I really don't regret buying our Tesla. I love that car. I think we both love that car.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, that car was great. It just was great for that part of our life. And I would definitely get one again. I think that's where I'm at. But I don't regret it. I mean, obviously it's brought us where we are today, talking to you guys more about Tesla, more about tech and finance. And I think that it was just like a really great stepping stone for us.
Definitely. I mean, it was the most interesting car that I've ever owned, for sure. I mean, it's just totally different from anything else that you're ever going to drive. Just like the screen being massive and not having anything else to look at while you're driving is just such a big change. And it being electric, you know.
Yeah. So I think, no, we don't regret buying our Tesla. I think now, though, would we repurchase a Tesla is, yes, we would, but I think that the Tesla we're looking for doesn't exist yet, or maybe we just like don't know exactly what we need, because we got the Model 3. I think we both liked it because it was super sporty, and it felt like a little sports car. It drove so fast, and it was just fun. It was like a fun car for us. But now with expecting a baby, we didn't think that that was a great car for a child.
Yeah, I think like a full-size sedan would be okay, but the fact that it's a compact sedan, like everything's smaller. It's the same size as like a Honda Civic.
Well, I don't even think that, I mean, that wouldn't even be okay, because if we thought that was okay, then we would have went to the Model Y. And we're not, because we also are worried it's too small.
Right, the space was the biggest thing, I think.
Yeah, so I think that the space in the Model Y is definitely more than the 3, but we're just worried, is it enough space for us? Because we do have 2 dogs too.
Right.
And we usually take them with us when we go places. So that's confusing, because we like the Model Y, but we've obviously never had a child before. So we don't know how much space they're going to take and how much stuff we're going to have and how much we're really going to be taking our dogs with our kid, or whether or not we're just going to just keep the dogs at home. Like, we just don't know. So it's really hard for us to make some kind of decision on, hey, we're going to buy a Model Y, when we don't really know what we need yet for our family.
I think like we probably could have gotten over some of that stuff with the size if the range was like tremendously better.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that the Model Y is only like 230 miles of range. You know, that's the biggest thing like that I learned when we got a Tesla, was that the range that they say online isn't what you're going to get ever.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the most you really want to charge it to is 90%. But really, in most day-to-days, you only want to go 80 to 85%. So you know, if the range is 350, like our Model 3 was, and you take 20% off of that, you know, you're already below 300 miles.
Yeah.
Right. And then if you drive on the highway a lot, you're only going to get like 90% of those miles anyway, which we drive on the highway pretty much everywhere, like some street driving, but most of it's highway anyway. So you need the range to be almost like double what it is now for it to equate to what gas cars are getting.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and Tom can't use it for work because he needs more mileage. So it would be actually a perfect car for him if the mileage was, I don't know, like, what do you think, 500 miles?
I'd say if it was 450 even, I can make it work. But it's like the fact that it's so close to that and it's just not close enough just kind of kills it for me. Because I drive probably like 250 to 300 miles each time like I have to drive for my job. So I just, like, I can't have, you know, 280 miles of range and then, you know, lose 10% on the highway and then, you know, be sitting there for an hour charging, you know, on top of all the driving that I already do for work anyway. So it just wasn't realistic.
Yeah. And then I also don't think we would go to the Model X, even though I would love that car, because it's just so expensive. $100,000, I just don't think that we can justify at this point in our life $100,000 car.
Yeah, no way. I mean, it just doesn't make sense.
No, it's just silly, honestly, for us to spend that kind of money. The only time, though, I would consider it, so if you ever see our channel get a Model X, is probably because we are now a business and we could write it off in taxes.
Right.
That's the only great thing about the Model X, and so if that's the case, then I think that that would be a reasonable option. But buying it personally, just us two, I mean, space-wise, I think it is correct, but then also price-wise is just too astronomical.
And I don't even think it's that much bigger than the Model Y anyway, to make it worth, you know, double the price, basically.
No.
I don't think it makes sense.
I don't think the value's there.
Yeah.
I really don't. I think it's a cool car, but would I spend that much money on it? I don't think we could bring ourselves to do that.
I don't think so. Not right now.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So, no, we don't regret the Tesla. If we weren't having a child, then we probably would have kept it, to be honest. We both really liked it. But it just ended up that the market was going to give us more money if we sold it, and because of just the way things are right now. So
yeah, we couldn't say no to that. I mean, $4,000 extra, what we paid for it.
Yeah, so I mean, we made money on it, and it just seemed like everything was pointing us in the direction of just sell it. So that's what we did, and we're gonna wait and see what our needs are once we have baby. Okay, so our next question is coming from Reddit. It says, can I afford $1,700 rent on $65,000 salary in New Jersey, New York City? I just started my first real job post-college, and I'm trying to figure out if I can finally afford to live on my own. I work in New York City, but live in New Jersey. I make $65,000 annually, and my personal expenses right now are about $800. This includes my student loans, credit card, and subscriptions. I also give my family about $250 each month for bills and food since I'm still living with them. What do you think?
That sounds like a pretty steep rent. $1,700.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember paying less than that, splitting it with you for years. So for that to be on one person, that sounds really high.
Well, I remember I paid, I think it was $1,400, and I was making in the like $40,000
Yeah.
for my first job. That was,
Okay.
but that was so painful.
That was in New Jersey. So
it was in New Jersey.
Yeah, we used to
an
live
hour,
in New Jersey.
An hour outside of New York City. It was a painful. I mean, I could barely save money.
Yeah.
So it looks like, I mean, he's staying with his family.
Yeah, he said he gives his family $250 each month for bills and food since he's still living with them, and he's just getting his first job out of college. So I'm assuming this person is like 22 or 23 years old. So
Yeah.
I mean, $250 a month for rent is pretty good to stay with your family.
Yeah, I think this was me, I would stay with my family. I mean, they obviously live in New Jersey where he can like go into New York City if he wants to, which
Right.
is great. I mean, we've done that. We've lived
Yeah.
that life. And I mean, to have a free living situation in New
Practically.
Jersey and like New York City area, oh gosh, that's a pretty sweet deal.
Yeah, I read some of the comments, and the person said that they do work from home too, so they don't actually have to commute. I guess it's maybe the company is in New York City, but they did say they work from home, so I mean they don't actually even have to live in those areas technically.
Yeah, I mean, then
Right.
they can move, but they're probably trying to stay close to their family, which I
Yeah.
can understand.
Right, and that's what we did. Was we moved from New Jersey to North Carolina, and rents were like 20% cheaper overall, I'd
Yeah.
say, and then you
It was
know
great.
the pay was higher than it was in the north, so.
Yeah.
It was great, but
For our situation.
we were farther
yeah.
from family though, so yeah, you make sacrifices. It's interesting because like, you know, you get like a salary of $65,000, and you think like that's how much money you're gonna get, but like you're actually not.
Yeah, I mean
Let's see.
the taxes and the take home is
Yeah.
definitely lowering it. I think 1,700 sounds really high for New Jersey.
It does. Must be a nice place
It
though.
must be nice. I mean, I remember my first place was crappy.
But there was a
I mean-
website that I found that actually tells you like how much you're gonna expect from your paychecks.
Oh, really?
So let me type that in and see like how much this guy is gonna get, or this person is gonna get each month on 65,000. Let's see.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad salary, especially if they're like, they seem really young. So it's
Yeah.
not a bad starting salary. I mean, I started in like the 40s, and that was tough in New
Yeah.
Jersey.
Yeah, so after taxes in actually the town I grew up in New Jersey, if you make $65,000 a year, your estimated monthly take-home pay is $4,023. So I don't like to base things off of like the gross income. Like people say, oh, don't spend 30%. It's like 30% of your gross income on rent, but it's like it's really hard to think about that because everyone's taxes are different and everyone has like different healthcare costs. So I don't understand
Yeah.
why you would look at gross and why you wouldn't look at the net, like what you actually take home every month.
Yeah.
Because that's probably what you should be budgeting off of, right? Like it doesn't really matter. Like if you live in California, your taxes are going to be way higher than like Texas or Florida, right? So like why would you go off of the gross? But yeah, basically you can make $4,000 a month, so it's $1,700, almost 50% of your after-tax earnings are going just for living. Hopefully that includes like, you know, water and electricity and stuff like that.
Probably doesn't.
but if
I would
not,
assume most
yeah.
people don't lump those together.
Yeah, I mean then you're already at $2,000, which is you're already at half.
No,
right?
and this person probably has. Oh, let's see. I make and they're now about $800. Okay, so the $800 includes their student loans, credit card, and subscriptions. And then they give the family $250.
Okay, yeah, so $800, yeah.
Yeah, if you have student loans, pay those off first. I think that this person should stay at home and pound those student loans down as fast as you can.
I mean, if you can do that for 5 years and then move out when you're like 27
with no
or 28.
debt. With no debt, yeah, that's what I would be doing all day long. Like, get those student loans, like, just get them off. Get them off your...
You moved out right away, right after college, right? You were on your own, so...
Yeah, I mean, I had to because my parents live in a really remote area, so there's no jobs there, or at least not jobs that I went to school for. So I had to move out, and I was envious of people who got to live at home. I'm like, wow, like, you're getting free food and free rent. And I'm paying so much money right now just to live in a terrible apartment and basically not save any of my money because I couldn't afford it because the rent was so high.
Yeah.
So highly suggest just living at home. Let's pay off the student loans. I mean, I would just go at those really hard, get those down. You have a credit card on here, which...
And you can still go out with your friends, you know, like just if you're not like, just because you're not living in the town that you're going out in. Like, I do think this person though is definitely underestimating their expenses because drinking and going out to eat, you know, you go to cities like Hoboken, and, you know, in Manhattan especially, like. And
transportation, I feel like, is even more than that.
Just so the trains and subways.
God, the trains are expensive in New York City.
You can spend $100 a night, and if you go out 3 nights a month, I mean.
No,
like it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, this person really needs to like sit down and make a budget.
Do a budget.
Yeah, like a real in-depth budget.
This is not a budget. This is I would do 1, 2 before and after scenarios. And then also see how long it would take for you to pay off your student loans if you were to stay at home. I just think that this is too loosey-goosey for me.
Yeah, I think that also too, like I didn't see anything about like saving for retirement, right? And that's something that like I was so slow on. Like, you know, I did the match. Like as soon as I got my job I have now, they did like a 6% match, and I'm like, oh, just do 6%. So then I was like, oh, I'm saving 12% of my salary, right? Because they're giving me 6 and I'm taking 6 out of mine.
Yeah.
But it just took a while for me to realize like you should actually like just max out all of your tax benefits. Yeah. Because then you pay less in taxes ultimately, like it makes you wealthier like overall, I guess.
Compound interest.
So yeah, like this person should, you know, take the $65,000 a year, put their 401k up to, I can do it on this website. It's actually pretty cool. So 19,500 or.
Yeah, they definitely bump their 401k up. Definitely create a Roth IRA as well.
Yeah, and then do the Roth IRA. Yeah, that's what I was going to get to next.
Yeah, I think that those two are the most important.
Yeah, so if you maxed out your 401k, making $65,000 a year, you would still take home $3,000. So that's what's putting $1,400 a month in your 401k. So you're really like saving $400 in taxes every month, essentially, which is another $5,000 a year, right? But then you should do that, and then you should take $500 a month and max out your Roth IRA. So your real budget should be like $2,500 a month. And then when you start to make like $75,000, $85,000, $95,000, you can say, all right, like I'm already maxing those contributions out. So now I can increase my lifestyle that way instead of like doing that first.
Not quickly,
but yeah, like I think that's the best way to think about it. Is like not just going like all in on like let's get a $2,000 a month apartment.
Yeah,
you know, $500 a month on a car. Like exactly.
Those aren't the first things, especially if they don't have to be. Yeah. Sometimes they have to be, but he doesn't have to make those tough decisions.
It's good this person's asking the questions though. Like,
it is.
Yeah, retirement first thing. Definitely. Okay, so for the next question, its boss is offering a raise instead of a year-end bonus. Thoughts? So without getting too deep into details, I received a raise earlier this year in the summer and was told on top of that raise, my boss would be giving me a bonus this year. No clear amount, estimated $3,000 to $5,000 based on previous bonuses, and would work to get me a bonus each year going forward. Fast forward to the present, and I just learned my boss is offering me another raise this week, making it clear he wants to make sure I am happy in addition to the big year we had thus far. However, I have not received any of the previously discussed bonus nor was it brought up in this initial raise discussion. This is where I'm a bit uneasy. We're planning to meet formally tomorrow to discuss the raise, etc., so I don't know what is all encompassed in it yet. But assuming I am offered another raise in lieu of the bonus, what should I mention in regards to the previously promised bonus? Yes, a raise is great, but a bonus would be tremendously helpful given my current financial climate and the fact that I am currently working on a startup of my own. I don't want to cross any lines, but any input is appreciated.
Okay. Well, this one's kind of tricky just because he's saying that it feels like he doesn't have all the information yet from the boss.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think he's really just asking, like, how can he approach the situation? And I mean, I would just ask him, to be honest. I don't think it needs to be very complicated. I've done this before even.
Mm-hmm.
I've done this where it depends if this was written in his contract.
It doesn't sound like it.
Because if it's not written in your contract, I mean, the first time your boss ever says, hey, you're going to get a raise, ask, like, can you send me an email just so I have it for my records? Because you don't want to think that you're going to get said raise, and then what if your boss leaves? Like, what if he gets fired?
It gets shifted around.
Yeah, like, you just can't go off of someone's word. So I think that's a hard lesson too for this person.
Yeah, I really hate when bosses do this. Like, it's definitely like it might come from a good place, but it comes off as like manipulative, where they're like, oh yeah, like we're gonna give you a raise, and like vaguely say that. Yeah, it kind of makes you like not want to look at other jobs. You're like, oh, I'm gonna get a raise. I don't know what that's gonna be, and you're always like, maybe they'll give me $20,000, but like that's probably not gonna happen, right? Yeah. So it just puts you in a weird state of mind, I think, right? Yeah,
and like, what are the parameters for this raise? Like, do I have to hit a certain number? Like, does the company have to hit a certain EBITDA? Like, that's what I would want to know. So as soon as a boss ever mentions raise to you and says, oh, we're going to have a year-end bonus of 5%, be like, okay, that's great. What are the parameters? Can I have it can you send this to me in an email? Like, you just need to have that information, because they could come back to you too and say, oh, sorry, the bonus was only based on, I don't know, EBITDA, and we didn't hit our EBITDA goal. I mean, and you would never know. So there's that aspect too. You need to know how the heck you're going to reach this bonus as well that they're supposedly going to give you.
Yeah. I think it's a red flag too when someone promises you a raise, doesn't say anything about that raise, but then offers you another raise. So you're like, wait, does that cross out the first raise? Like, you want to get all your raises, right? Like, you don't want to forget about one. So, I mean, it's just, maybe this is a startup, right? Every company is different. Like, the startup environment is much harder. Like, people are doing a million things. They forget about, what they promised everybody. Yeah. How many employees is this boss managing, and like having to, manage the raises on? Like, if you're having a great year, it's like you're telling everybody that, right?
And I would just bring it up immediately too. As soon as that boss is like, you're getting this raise, be like, okay, so just to be clear, in before this raise, I had this bonus, and this was my salary. Will my bonus still be carrying over? Will my bonus increase because my base now has increased?
Does it scale with your salary?
With your salary? So those are the questions you ask immediately. As soon as they bring up any type of raise situation and you have a bonus attached to that, definitely ask those questions. I mean, you just don't want them to think that they might have forgot, to be honest. Like Tom said, I agree. They could have forgot.
If they're busy and they have 20 other employees who they're giving raises. I definitely think it depends too, like how long you're thinking of staying at a company. I think the safe bet is like a raise is always better than a bonus if they're going to be like the same amount, right? But that also changes if you're going to be planning on leaving that company within the next year or two. You don't care about a $5,000 raise. You'd rather have a $10,000 bonus if you're going to be leaving next year, right? And this person said that they're, working on a startup of their own. So obviously they're, starting that path of already leaving. So a bonus, it makes sense why a bonus is more important to this person, because, he doesn't want $2,000 more a year because he's not going to be there for that many years.
Right. That makes sense. Okay. Well, I think he just needs to talk to his boss about it overall. It sounds like he doesn't have all of the answers yet either from his boss, so I would just bring it up and Just be really respectful of it. He probably forgot, and you just need to bring it up to him again so that you can remind them. And always get it in writing.
Get a clear outline too. Like,
yeah.
You know, mention to your boss, you mentioned the first raise, now I have a second raise, now there's a bonus in there. Like, just ask for a clear idea of what that actually is going to look like and like when it's going to happen. You don't have to be really pushy about it, but I think you deserve to know how it's going to look. I mean, it's your compensation, right?
Yep. Yeah, like Tom just said, but just ask for everything that you guys just talked about in an email. So I would be like, just for clarity's sake and for my records, do you mind like sending me an email recapping everything you just said? And that will take all the confusion out of it.
Perfect.
So the next one I have is they need urgent advice. Should I leave my new job of 2 months or go back to my old job where the offer is still on the table? So I've been finding myself in a bit of a predicament. A few months ago, a recruiter reached out to me for a position I was underqualified for at a corporate job. When I was approached by the recruiter, I was working at a nonprofit job that I really liked, but was underpaid. Curious about better paid corporate opportunity, I ended up moving forward with a few interviews and landed the job. When I put in my resignation at the nonprofit organization, they almost matched my corporate salary offer, about $10,000 less, but I decided to move forward with the new job opportunity. Now, 2 months into my job, I am absolutely miserable. I hate the job itself, my onboarding process was terrible, and the organization itself is a disorganized mess. I have approximately 8 to 9 hours of meetings straight every single day, and I'm getting thrown new, confusing projects left and right, even though I barely understand the company yet. I told my supervisor that I was feeling quite lost and overwhelmed, and she was not very receptive. She simply apologized, but proceeded to invite me to more last-minute meetings and throw more projects my way. Now, my window of opportunity is closing to go back to my previous employer, and I'm not sure if I should just go back. The offer is still open for my taking. I'm looking for advice. Part of me is not sure if I should stay and stick it out, although the amount of meetings will never change, for the sake of resume building and not disappointing my new team and avoiding shame and guilt. However, I know I'd be happier at my old job, even if the benefits are not as good. So they're looking for advice. Should I leave my new job of 2 months where I'm miserable and go back to my old job, which was paid a little less but made me happier? Or should I stick it out in my new job?
I think this is why it's a good example of why it's so important to keep relationships good with old employers. Like when you leave a company, make sure you put in your 2 weeks. Like, don't leave on bad terms. Make sure you get all your work done that you were doing before you leave. All of that.
Yeah,
right?
Agreed. Totally agree.
Definitely.
I mean, what do you think? Do you think they should?
Well, it sounds like they should go back. It depends what his salary or this person's salary is, though, because they said it's $10,000 less. And $10,000 less could be a lot if you're making $40,000, right? Because then you're going to make $30,000. But if you're making $110,000 and it's to $100,000, then that's not so bad. That doesn't sting quite as much. But it really just it's really hard to know that part. But to this person, it sounds like $10,000 is no big deal, right? That's what they made it seem like.
Yeah, they did. They said only $10,000. So I would assume they're probably a little bit higher paid. I don't know, because they said nonprofit. I don't usually equate that to higher paying jobs, but you never know.
But it's only $10,000 less than this corporate job, right?
Yeah, true. So
it must be a decent nonprofit job. Some nonprofit jobs can pay pretty well.
Yeah.
Right. Not all of them are super low paying. But I think this person should go back. It sounds like it's not going to get any better. Like, I read one of the comments here, and it says, like, companies never change. Like, if it's crazy like that, they're throwing you into meetings and projects that you can't handle.
Yeah.
Like, they're just not going to change. Like, that's how it is, right? Like, you can't just sit there and hope that something else is going to get better for you. You got to make it better for yourself, right?
I don't think they should stay at this job, but I don't know if they should go back. I think that's kind of where I'm at. I feel like whoever this is, needs to analyze why they left in the first place. Like, why were you so quick to pick the other opportunity? Was it just because you were curious as to corporate, or
just because underpaid?
Yeah, were you just feeling like it because it was you were underpaid, and do you think that that's going to continue if you do go back there? And what is your main priority? Are you okay with being underpaid? Clearly you weren't, because you did change your job because you were underpaid.
Right.
So clearly, like, that was still a factor for you.
And if they're going to underpay you once, then what's not to say they're going to not underpay you in 5 years when, you know, your salary range jumps up $20,000, but they only pay you $5,000 more dollars.
Yeah, so I think that that's tough because you were already underpaid and you didn't feel like they were going to match without maybe having a second offer on the table. So I personally wouldn't go back. That's just me, because I feel like you probably left for a reason, and that you were looking for something else, or it just didn't fit your needs anymore, or all of your expectations. But then this job now that you're going to is just worse, so it's making that job look better.
Right.
Which,
Exactly.
I mean, you really don't know a job till you get into it and understand the team and the meetings. So I can understand how this would happen. I mean, it's definitely happened to a ton of people where you get there and you're just like, this is not for me.
Exactly. Yeah, and I mean, another corporate job might be a better fit for you. Like, there's a lot of answers here, right? So maybe stick it out a year and then try to get another job. You know, you don't really want to be jumping around jobs every 2 months.
I wouldn't stick around.
Oh, you wouldn't stick around?
I wouldn't stick around. I would go.
Okay.
If there's this many red flags and you're miserable, I would get the heck out of there. It's not going to get better. If I saw that on a resume, I mean, I understand that not all jobs are perfect fits. And you can just explain that. You don't even have to put it on your resume. Most people wouldn't.
Wow.
I mean, if you're only there a month or
2
two.
months.
Yeah, I mean, don't even put it on your resume. But if you want to, feel free and just say it wasn't a great fit for me and I'm looking for the right fit. But I would not quit first. I would go find a job right now. Right. Go apply to something that you do think will fit your needs and ask the right questions in the interview.
Right.
To then understand better whether or not this is the right fit. Just be like, what does a typical day look like? If it's meetings all day, then you know that that's probably not the job for you.
And try to meet more of the team. Like, maybe you didn't get to meet everybody and just see, like, and get more perspective on what the day-to-day was like.
Yeah.
Right? So maybe do that better the next time. Like, you got to just learn little things about the process and just apply them to your future applications, right?
Yeah, I think this person should get a new job, though.
Get back on Indeed.
Get back on Indeed. There's a ton of jobs out there.
Yeah.
I don't think that your last job was obviously the ultimate job out there. So you can do better and just keep climbing the ladder then with your salary as you change jobs.
I totally agree. Yeah. Okay, so the next question we have is, I told my boss I'd like to start a side hustle to make extra money, and it didn't go well. What should I do? I feel the need to vent and receive advice here because I am too embarrassed and confused to discuss it with anyone in real life. To start, I'm an experienced engineer with 3 to 5 years of experience in various engineer roles in tech. A few weeks ago, I realized I can make extra money by starting a business that does various technology-related work for commercial and residential. Like most companies, you must disclose your side hustle to ensure no conflicts of interest are present to prevent breach of contractual agreements. Basically, I went above my direct boss's head to disclose the information to my department president, as I thought this was the person to go to. My president told me that another department actually really needs someone like me and encouraged me to meet with my CTO to discuss the opportunity. I met with my CTO the next day and he was excited for me to be pursuing this role, but also said I should think if I truly want to start my own side business or not, because he would not want to discourage me from pursuing an entrepreneurial endeavor. Basically, he told me he'd get me in the position if I passed an exam, which I had no problem doing. The next day comes and my boss comes back from vacation, and I thought it was courteous to disclose to him what I had discussed with our president and CTO. He completely went off the rails and basically attacked me for going above his head and didn't understand why I would even do such a thing. I told him I want to start a side business for more money, and I thought I was supposed to go to the president to sign off on it. He said it seems like I was trying to go penny pinching. He then proceeded to say, why wouldn't I just think about working at X company for extra money instead of starting a side business, even though I work 50 to 55 hours a week as it is? He then questioned the CTO opening a door for me to pursue a new career that pays a lot more money. I was in complete shock, and he sort of backtracked in the end. He lastly said, well, whatever you need to do for yourself, I'll help you get whatever you need for your exam. I said, okay, thanks, and that was about the end of it. I've been so absorbed mentally in that conversation that I can't even think about starting the exam for some reason. I just need some advice on what to do in this current situation. There doesn't even seem to be any bad blood between us, but my blood boils every time I think about this conversation. It makes me not even want to work at this company anymore, even though everyone else was supportive. So the too long don't read on this is I told my boss our CTO offered me a new opportunity for more money if I passed an exam instead of starting a side business for extra cash. The direct boss basically disrespected him and made him feel worthless because I went over his head, didn't choose to, apply at a different company, to work 2 jobs instead of 1 just to make some extra money. And he said, yes, the company does have an open door policy.
So I'm confused about whether or not he has to choose between either working at the company or doing the side hustle.
Yeah, why can't he do both?
Is the company now trying to get him to do this side hustle at the company?
Yeah, it sounds like the company needs like a new wing in the company, like a new division.
Yeah.
And this guy's gonna kind of like open that up for them. So it sounds like a good situation to be in.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand why the direct boss would be a little peeved coming back from vacation.
Right.
Knowing that the employee, I don't want to say went above his head, but it definitely would feel like that.
But it's not something that's clear, like, hey, if you're going to start a side hustle, like, come to me first. Like, that's not something you typically, like, explain to all your employees. Yeah. So I definitely get, like, the gray area on that.
Yeah.
Right?
I do, too. I think that the boss seemed to come around, though, to it and understand, like, why he was confused, but his initial reaction was obvious.
And he realized he was wrong.
And he realized he was wrong. Yeah, he was obviously, like, hurt by it, because he's like, well, I like having you on my team. He obviously thinks that you're a great employee and he doesn't want to lose you. So
and he had more of like an emotional reaction, right?
Yeah.
Really get to think about it.
Yeah, I mean, bosses are just people, so he's just a person who had a response to what you told him. So was it the most professional? Absolutely not. But it's what you're gonna get. I mean, we're not robots either. So
yeah, right. Like you can't take anything too personally. Like it worked out for this person because you're now in with the president and the CTO. Like they seem like they're pretty excited about what you're doing. So like it just kind of stinks to be that boss that your direct boss at this point. Like he didn't identify this. Like he kind of looks bad, but like that's kind of on him. This person who's asking the question is in a really like protected state right now.
Right.
Like they're not like gonna lose their job or anything. The person who should be worrying is the direct boss, right?
Yeah.
Like that lower level manager.
Yeah.
For sure. That's the person that should be worried.
No, I definitely agree. Especially if they were on vacation, then I mean I could see why you would.
I think that just makes it worse. They happen to be on vacation. Maybe you could have like if they were there, you could have had all 3 of them together. Or the president and your direct boss, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that would have been better.
I don't know. I would try to understand what you want too. Is this job opportunity? Would you rather work for a job where they can inject your idea with some cash pretty immediately and create an environment where, I don't know anything about the history of this company, but I would assume that they would be able to back it. Whereas if you were going off on your own and you're doing things by yourself, you might not be in that kind of a position to be able to financially support it initially. Maybe you are. But I would just think about that first. Like, do you need financial backing? Because if you do, then maybe go with the company.
Right.
If you are passionate about this and are like, this is my dream job is to have this idea and have my own business, well, then I think you should go run your own thing. Because clearly it's worth listening to if the company now also wants it.
Right. And your relationship now with your direct manager is going to be a little different.
Yeah,
and it stinks to be that person who you went over his head because he feels like his bosses just made a decision without even consulting him at all with his employees who they trust him with, right? So it's tricky.
Yeah,
I get it.
It depends on what you want though, what you're gonna do. I wouldn't consider leaving just because you're mad at your direct boss or
Right.
don't like how it panned out. I mean, these type of situations happen all of the time, usually a lot worse than this. And he just obviously cares. I mean, I don't know about what your relationship looks like, but he obviously thinks you're a great employee and he's sad to lose you.
Right.
So I wouldn't make a decision based off of now your emotional response from his emotional response. Like, you just need to make the decision based off of what is right for you business and professionally. Like,
Exactly.
Is it working for this company? Is that going to give you the greatest opportunity? Or is going off on your own going to give you the greatest opportunity? And it sounds like you're going to have to make a choice, though, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's tough. You know, when you're starting a side hustle that's in the industry that you work in, like, I definitely see where there can be a lot of red flags that come up where, like, if you're working on something and using companies' like proprietary information or you're using their like systems or something to, you know, grow your own thing. Like, I get even just like using a work laptop to work on a personal project. I don't know, that's weird, right? Like, but yeah, I definitely think you did the right thing by actually disclosing that instead of just going and doing it, right? And in this case, it kind of worked out where they were interested in it.
Yeah,
so,
I think so.
I think it kind of worked out in the best way it could, almost.
I think so too. I think it worked out probably better than this person imagined.
Right, because
they're like, holy crap, now I have a job. I could also have this awesome job as well.
Because you know, that direct boss, like I feel like in other situations could have just fired you on the spot, right? You felt like so hurt by that and, you know, just terminated.
Well, I don't think he could fire him because
he was protected.
He was protected because the CTO wants to talk to him. So it would, then the direct boss would look even worse if he fired him.
Yeah.
So I don't think he would fire him. I think he's in a really protected spot.
Yeah.
At that point, it's a great place to be.
Definitely.
You just have to make tough decisions now.
But I think at this point, you know, you really just have to like try to calm down about the whole situation with your direct boss and just focus on doing this exam, because obviously that door opened and you have some pretty powerful people backing you.
Yeah.
So I think you just have to kind of grab that opportunity and just put that emotional side behind it, right? And just focus. You know, it's going to work out better for you in the long run.
Yeah, agreed. So then this question has come in from my email, and one of you guys have sent this one in. So they say, I got a Tesla Model 3 with your videos help. Great. I'm so glad you got a Tesla Model 3 with my videos. I know this will sound crazy, but I am now considering selling my Tesla Model 3 because I love it. I get that. When I first considered a Tesla, I felt like it was a big gamble on several levels for me, but now I am sold. So much that I am now considering selling my Tesla Model 3. The plot twist is that it would be for a Tesla Model Y. Also have thought about that. Reasons would be for the extra space and four-wheel drive. He has a Model 3 SP. There are a number of additional factors that are making me consider this. For starters, it seems like my car's value has increased despite that I have used it for the last 6 months and put 12,000 miles on it. Wow. But yeah, I mean, they're all increased right now. It's great. Also, with the tax credit on the horizon, I can enjoy a nice discount that wasn't available when I purchased. Agreed. My question is, will my Tesla Model 3 drop in value when I can do my transaction in 6 months when my Model Y is available? I tend not to think it won't, or not much, as I think although people can get a discount getting new, but the demand will also be high, it will be a long wait, leading people to consider getting one sooner, even if a little used. I have a feeling that you have thought about this as well and would be interested in your thoughts. They said, as an aside, what kind of car are you driving now, and are there any plans for another EV in your future, and if so, which one? They've also considered the VW ID4 and Mustang Mach-E, but this person thought they felt half-baked. I did answer the EV question in our last question when we talked about did we regret buying a Tesla.
Right.
So I don't think we need to answer that one, but what do you think about him going to the Model Y? Do you think, and whether or not his value will drop on his Model 3 in the meantime?
Yeah, I don't think that the values are going to go down at all. Like, I think at this point it takes about a year still to get a Tesla. Like, next August to like December, right, for the Model 3 and Model Y maybe, or he said 6 months, right? If
Yeah,
you ordered it today, so.
Yeah, I don't think it's a year.
But it's still 6 months. I don't really see that changing too much over the next 6 months. Like, I was just reading today that Ford, you know, they have like 200,000 pre-orders for the F-150 Lightning, and it's going to take them 3 years to make all those cars just for the orders they have now. And they, you know, Ford obviously wanted to, you know, double their production, but they just can't make the batteries fast enough.
Right.
So I think that that's not going to change in 6 months. You know, we see in a bunch of different industries, you know, the supply chain is so tight, right? So
yeah,
I think that this person's fine. I think you're good to go and try to get that tax credit. And once the tax credits come out, though, you got to have your order in now.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm going to put the order in right now.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to only lose, what is it now, $250?
Yeah, right, $250.
$250,
I think it's refundable, though, too.
I think they stopped that.
Oh, it's not?
I think,
okay.
yeah, if you cancel, they keep it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's just a hard question to answer because this climate is so unusual to have cars not readily available. So it's tough because we just don't know what it's going to look like in a few months. But from what we've been hearing and reading, it seems like the market's not going to change too much until Q3 or Q4 of next year. Doesn't seem like it's going to catch up. So from those articles, it seems like the value will hold.
Definitely, or go up depending.
I even remember even a few months ago, we talked about putting in a deposit for $250 because we just wanted to hold the Tesla Model Y just to see what would happen by the time it was ready, where we would be at. So I think that's a really great, if you have $250 to spare, I would do that and hold on to your Tesla. And then if it ends up not being a good time, just don't receive the Model Y.
Yeah, right. You can always put it off for 90 days, right?
I think it's 3 months.
Yeah, 90 days?
Yeah.
Right, okay. Cool. So,
yeah, 90 days.
Yeah, and you still have to wait and see because the tax credits aren't guaranteed at this point still.
Yeah, we still have no idea what that's going to look like.
They might get trimmed down even, so it might not be that great. So,
We'll have to see too what Tesla does with its pricing and making sure that it's still eligible. Also for the tax credit, as of right now, it does seem eligible, but who knows with how much change could happen in the next month.
And I guess the Model Y is considered an SUV, so it should be eligible no matter what.
Yeah.
Right, because it's $80,000 for an SUV.
Yeah, true.
So
there's a little bit more buffer there.
Even the the sport version of the Model Y, should be fine. I'm sure, but I'm sure they'll raise prices. I mean, they're a business, right? So, of course, they're going to raise them a little bit.
Yeah, I would put in the $250 deposit if you have the extra money. I mean, why not? We were going to do that.
Yeah.
And if we lost it, then we lost it. But if we were going to use it, we never actually did it though. We just couldn't bring ourselves to do it. We were so close to doing it. So I would do that. I mean, if you're not in a position to sell your Model 3 immediately and you have to wait for the Model Y, just put in your $250 and as your deposit and then see where you're at by the time it's ready. You can always,
I mean, the price can go up because, I mean, you know, even a month or two before we sold our Tesla, the trade-in value was $52,000. And then we waited the month or two, I forget how long it was. Yeah. But then it was $54,000.
Yeah.
Right? Or 56.
56.
Yeah, it went from 52,000
$56,375
to 56,000. So it jumped that $4,000 because we were fine just trading it in for 52,000. That's exactly.
We thought that was great because it was used.
Yeah.
I mean, who's getting more money for a used car?
Yeah, right. And that was after all the taxes and delivery.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. It wasn't just like the cost of the car.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, really, we got like $8,000 over the value of the car. Right.
Yeah. So I mean. Yeah, I would do that. I think the market is just in such a strange position right now. So if you have an inkling of, hey, I want the Model Y, then now's the time to do it. So
definitely. I agree.
I would just say go for it and see what happens by the time it's ready. And hopefully you'll get the tax credit. That would be a win-win situation then. You get more money for your current one and you could possibly get a tax credit. So
it's perfect.
Yeah.
So just to answer your question about other cars, like we're definitely like open to another car, but we don't need one right this second. I haven't test driven an ID4 or the Ford Mach-E. I think it's the same thing though, where they're just going to take forever to get. So And like Rivian, we really like Rivian too.
I just don't like their charging situation right now. I think that's my biggest deal breaker with anything but Tesla. Until Tesla, technically they've opened up, I guess, or opening up. They're going to open up their chargers, but they haven't. I mean, the other cars still can't use it, so the charging situation is just not as great.
Yeah, we're just not people who can just use at-home charging. Like, our family's far away. I work really far for work. Like, we just drive places. Like, sometimes we drive to the beach. Like, like far places. Not like in town. It would be fine. You know, driving around to the grocery store. But like, we just tend to go far places in the car. Like often.
Well, and if it's your only car, too, you don't want to be constrained to, like, only going near these chargers, which they're so slow, and they do have the DC chargers now, but there's not a ton.
And in Raleigh, there's no fast chargers for the
last time we looked, there wasn't
Last time we looked,
there wasn't one.
There's only 2 Tesla chargers, so... I mean, the whole city, right? So
I just don't think it's there yet. The network's not there.
Depending on where you live, LA, you know, you can. California, really, you can.
Yeah, I'm sure that's fine.
But then you have like bogged down chargers for Tesla, you know.
But then if you're in LA and you want to go somewhere else that's a little outside of the city, I mean, you could be a little bit SOL. So
well, California, I think, has a lot in general, but compared to.
I don't think the charging network's there, to be honest.
I think it's going to take 5 or 10 years to like really see a decent charging network. Like, yes, you can get across the country, but is it convenient? Like, as convenient as going to a gas station?
Yeah.
I mean, even 10% of that? No. No way. I mean, it's not even like close at this point. So that's kind of where we're at. Yeah.
I can't see us buying any other brand but Tesla right now for that reason alone. Yeah. And a lot of the ranges are just not there too.
Like, I totally love that Tesla is 100% electric, but part of me really wishes they would just make like a plug-in hybrid car that got like crazy amount of gas mileage. You know, you could put like 5 gallons in it or something, right? Like,
that's just because you want it to be extended.
Yeah, I know. It's just
or just that. I think I don't want that. I want them to just increase the range. Like, I think all of us do.
Right. But obviously that's going to take so long to get the battery. I mean, just making these batteries the size they are.
Yeah. I'm not personally someone who is interested in anything but a Tesla at this time.
Yeah.
I think that some of those cars are really beautiful, and I think some of the design inside is even better than the Tesla.
Especially Rivian and Lucid.
Yeah, I mean those are insane.
I'd love to see those, but again, the charging.
Yeah, exactly. But then if you can't charge it like you can charge a Tesla, like, what's the point? What's the point of that? So I think we both basically see eye to eye on that one. So if we were to ever get another EV, it would definitely be a Tesla at this time.
Right.
So that concludes all of the questions that we're going to answer for today. So like I said at the beginning, if you guys are interested in us answering one of your questions on the show, make sure to email it to askcarterquestions@gmail.com. Also, make sure to check out our podcast. If you guys are watching us right now on YouTube, we will be under the Important Shit podcast on Spotify. So you'll be able to find us there. We will be posting one full-length video every single week, and then be posting on YouTube the clips from each video every single day. So we look forward to hearing what you guys have as your discussion points too, and what you guys think about our conversations today. So feel free to put your thoughts down in the comments below, as we really love reading your feedback and want to keep talking about these topics. So we hope you guys enjoyed this new format. I hope you enjoyed seeing Tom for the very first time. But we will see you guys in our next podcast.